Dang it. Thank you for clicking on this video, and today, just as the title said, we are going to be changing the drive shaft on the Ford Ecosport. So let's get to it. Okay, as you can see, it's very different from the Proto Inspira. Okay, so let's get to it. Okay, so firstly, I recommend getting one of these suction thing, right? This is to pop the cap off, then we'll have access to the nut for the drive shaft, all right? Okay, so to open the drive shaft, you need a 32 mm with a breaker bar and an extension. Okay, so this is actually day 2 of the DIY. So the problem that I have, as you can hear in the beginning of the video, whenever I'm driving and I press the accelerator, I will have that crunchy sound coming from the front. Alright, so it could be the gearbox, it could be the drive shaft, but I'm suspecting the drive shaft right now, because when I put my hand on the drive shaft and I move the tire, I can feel that the tire move before the drive shaft, meaning that there's play within the drive shaft itself. Alright, so why is it now day 2? Okay, so I hope you can see this. Okay, as you can see, the lug nut is kind of broken. Okay, this one too. This one as well. Okay, so what happened was that there's 4 lug nuts, 8 lug nuts, 4 here and 4 on the other side, and 4 of them are broken. Alright, 4 of them slipped. Very suspicious. I'll explain that later, and it took me an entire day to get it out. Alright, yeah, so dang, that was difficult. Alright, so by the time I'm done taking out the 4 lug nuts that was stuck on this one wheel, not to mention the other 4 on the other side was also partially broken. Okay, so yeah, I was too tired and it was already towards the evening already. Okay, which is why now we're on day 2. Okay, so as I mentioned, the issue with the drive shaft, the reason why is I'm suspecting the drive shaft. So let's remove it. Alright, so we have already removed the cap. We have already loosened the bolt for the drive shaft. So now we'll be taking the wheel out, and then we'll proceed from there. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to drain the transmission fluid. I'm not going to do a full drain, probably about 1 to 2 liters out. Alright, so to do that we need a T50 socket, and this is where we will be going. Alright, so this is the entire gearbox, and we will be loosening this for the drain plug. Okay, we'll loosen this and let it flow about 1 to 2 liters. Okay, okay, so the jug is about 2 liters and seems like the oil doesn't even reach 2 liters. Okay, so we'll let it drip and then we'll close it back. Okay, so it has its own rubber washer inside here, so there's no need to replace any washers, just wipe it clean and then put it back on later. Okay, so I've actually let this drip for about half an hour. Alright, so just give it a bit of a wipe. Okay, so make sure you don't cross thread it. Okay, and then we'll tighten this back up. Okay, we'll be removing this nut, which is 32 mm. Alright, remember this was already loosened, so okay, so lesson learned. Next time, remove the bolt all the way when the tire is still on the ground, then put it back. Alright, because the rust was making it very difficult to come out, so we have to use the impact wrench. Okay, next thing we want to do is we want to break loose this one first before we remove any other things. So to do that, we do not strike it with an iron hammer. We just put it here like this, and we use a mallet and hit the hammer. Okay, so once you have this loose, so as you can see, alright, this has broken free, which was quite simple. Usually it isn't this easy. Alright, but now that you have broken it free, you need to remove the two bolts on the top. These two bolts, lean it down, and hopefully we have enough clearance to move the shaft out. Okay, now that we have the two nuts out, we will try to wiggle the drive shaft out. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll pull this down, like so. Okay, and then we'll see whether we can wiggle this out. Right, so I'm gonna wear gloves so that I don't hurt my fingernails. You know, manicure is expensive, not like I do it, but hurting your nail is pain. Okay, we managed to get this out. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do is we are going to put a pry bar or screwdriver here, a big one, and just peel it off. Wedge it out. Yes, wedge it out. Okay. And we will just remove this out by pulling it out. Okay, so if we did not drain the transmission fluid, once you remove this, oil will start coming out. So make sure you drain your transmission fluid, else it will be a messy job. Okay, so to put it back is the same. I will show it to you soon. Okay, as usual with my videos, we will do a comparison between the old and the new. Okay, so you can see on the old drive shaft is rusted. Obviously it's dirty, obviously. Alright, but one thing I did notice is that when I try to twist this while holding this, try and listen. Notice I'm actually able to move this without moving this. Alright, that means the things inside here is already loose or spoiled. Okay, the threads all looks good. This is still tight but a bit wonky. This is, as you can see, no sound. This is tight and heavy. This seems to be a bit lighter, I wonder why. Okay, we'll install this back now. Okay, so before we install back, make sure we wipe this clean, okay? Then you want to check the seal for any physical damage, but it doesn't seem like it, and it was not leaking oil, so I will not be changing this. Okay, make sure the surface is clean. Okay. Okay, so this is when the true horror happens. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is make sure this clip here is centered. Alright, make sure it doesn't protrude up a lot, if not you have a lot of problem going in. And what you do is you poke it in and turn it a bit until you hear or feel that the gears are in a bit. Okay, And what you do is you rock it till it's in. Okay, so the drive shaft on the passenger side is in. As you can see over here, it's tight. Alright, if you put your finger, there should not be much of a gap. Alright, you barely can put your finger in. Alright, so I have to do that off camera because I needed all the space that I can get over here. Alright, and if you notice, I also took this out. Alright, I took the ABS sensor out as well, so that I get more wiggle room here and here. Alright, here and here. Okay, so I can actually put it in and slot it in, else it will be too tight and at a slanted angle, then it wouldn't go in. This took me about 20 over minutes just to shove that thing in. Dry shaft, hard to shove. Shove, whatever. Alright, so now I'm gonna put all this back. So this is a size 15mm. Alright, it goes over here. And then this is a size 8mm. Okay, then I'll assemble back everything on this side. And we'll move on to the driver side, which is the interesting part. Okay, so now we're going to be doing on the driver side. So just like the other side, I will be hammering this in so it loosens the shaft. And this should come out. And the weird thing is, on the gearbox side for this car, it doesn't seem like it has any locking mechanism. Alright, it seems to be slightly different from the passenger side. And one thing I note is there is some oil stains over here and there is a bearing over here. Okay, so I will need to remove one bolt here and one bolt over here. Alright, so I will most likely loosen this up, remove the bolt, and see if I can pull it out. Alright, so I've not done this, let's give it a try. Okay, so this is the new drive shaft. Like I said, there's nothing locking it on the gearbox side. Alright, this seems to be the washer or whatever that's going to prevent the oil from leaking. And this is the bearing. And this is the shaft head. Okay, let's see how this goes. Alright. Okay, so this is surprisingly much more easier to remove compared to the smaller one. Alright, so like what I said earlier, there was a bracket here. Remove the bracket, take this one out, and then just pry a bit on this side and the whole thing's out. Alright, you just need to wiggle it out. Alright, so let's have a look. Okay, this does seem very tight compared to the new one. I mean, it's not free flowing, but as you can see, using the same force, this one is easier. This is a bit much more tougher. Okay, you can hear some sound from there. No sound. Okay, this one seems okay, a bit loosed. This is good. Okay, so installing it would be very easy. Okay, just shove it in, make sure this part is in, push it in, lock it with the bracket, and then put the head in. Simple. Why didn't they design it this way for all the drive shaft? Why must they have that stupid locking thing that makes things difficult? Okay, let's get to it. Okay, so a little bit of a pro tip here. Alright, if you need to tighten this, hand tighten, and this is moving along with it, which makes it difficult, well, you can either put something here to block it, or the easier way is a screwdriver, slot it inside here. Alright, and it will be blocked by the caliper. Okay. Okay, so you might want to tighten it by hand as much as possible with a sharp ratchet. Alright, later on when we put the car down with the wheels, we will torque it to spec. Do not torque it to spec with a screwdriver here. You might just break your disc. But if it's just hand tightened with a sharp ratchet, it's okay. Okay, so to fill back the gear oil, what you need to do is you need to loosen the filler hole over here at the back. Alright, so you can see it's a T8. Alright, so it's a hex key size 8. You can't really get the socket type of T8 over there because the bar over here actually blocks it. Alright, you can't fit it behind here, so you can even see my camera makes it a bit difficult. Okay, so what you need is this type of hex key and a lot of strength. So what you need to do is put it in, and then what you need to do is you need to climb underneath, and from the back you have a bit of an opening over here. Right, so this view is a bit blocked, but you'll see it like this, and then you will need to turn it upwards, alright, to loosen. Okay. Okay, once you've loosened it, you can actually just hand unscrew it. Alright, just like that. Okay, so for the gear oil, I'll be using Meili ATF DCG2. Alright, make sure the oil that you are using is specific for dual clutch gearbox DCG. Alright, and because of the odd position of the filler hole, you need a syringe with a flexible pipe. If you don't have, just get a pipe from the top, come down and plug it in, and what you do is you fill it till it starts leaking out a bit. That's when you stop. So I've drained roughly about slightly less than 2 liters. That's why I have 2 bottles here. Alright, so I'll be doing it 1 bottle at a time. Okay, so once you have filled up the transmission fluid till it flow out, what you do is you close back the nut, and then you assemble back everything. Alright, so as you can see, this is all assembled. I have used new wheel nuts because the old wheel nuts is broken. I'll tell you how I remove them later on, alright, in a new video. Okay, so right now, the torque spec for the wheel hub nut, the drive shaft nut, is about 230 to 270 Newton meter, but mine only goes up to 210 Newton meter. So what I do is I torque it to 210, then I use another breaker bar to actually turn it a little bit more, alright, just to roughly get the 230 to 270 torque for that nut. Okay, because I don't think I want to buy a bigger torque wrench. This is big enough. Okay, and there's not much nuts that require that high of a torque. Okay, the nut lugs is about 108 to 115 Newton meter, so that's torque to spec as well. So what we'll do now is replace the cap, drive the car out a bit, wash off the oil, go for a test drive, and we are done. So let's go to the summary. Alright, so that's the end of this video, and let's talk a bit about this DIY. Okay, so first off, this is a Ford Ecosport, 7-year-old car, year 2015. For the last 7 years, there's not much problem with this car, so my wife bought this brand new Alright, and right now there are a couple of things that needs to be fixed on this car, so you guys will probably see the Ecosport appearing on my channel a fairly bit more than my other cars for the next couple of weeks. Alright, now that I've changed the drive shaft, I will probably, if you see in the video, the rotor is also due for a change as well, so I'll be doing that. I'll be changing the brake pad and the rotors, alright, and then I will need to change the rear wheel bearing, probably the absorbers as well. Okay, so you guys will probably see this car a bit more in the next couple of weeks. Alright, so okay, come back to this DIY. Alright, so the cost of the drive shaft, both left and right, alright, is about 750 ringgit, which is roughly about 200 plus US dollars. Alright, a bit hard for me to actually calculate now because the exchange rate is going up and down too much. Okay, so time. Alright, if the lug nuts did not have problem, I would probably finish this in like 2 hours, 3 hours at most. Alright, it's actually very simple. The only difficult part was the short drive shaft, which is on the passenger side. The C-clip, that was one heck of a problem for me to actually put it in. It took me about 20 over minutes. Alright, normally you should take about 1 to 2 minutes just shoving it in. Alright, but the long drive shaft was very easy. There was no pin to lock it. Alright, just plug it in, use the two bolts, bolt the bearing, the other side put it into the wheel hub, done. I don't know why they don't design it like that for every single car. Oh well, you know, if you're a car DIY like me, then you probably know that people who design cars really don't take into consideration on how easy it is or how difficult it is to repair a car. Okay, so that's the end of this video, and as usual, I hope you learned something, and if you have not done so, make sure you hit the subscribe, you like, and do comment below as well. Alright, so till next time, I will see you again.